What If takes the Marvel Cinematic Universe and flips it on its head, showing what happens when key moments happen completely differently. Created by A.C. Bradley for Disney+, this animated series follows the Watcher, voiced by Jeffrey Wright, as he guides us through bizarre and exciting alternate timelines. From heroes making unexpected choices to entire worlds turned upside down, the show mixes familiar MCU characters with brand new adventures. Some fans didn't like the mix of standalone episodes and bigger story arcs, but the series is full of unforgettable moments. Season 3's Winter Soldier and Red Guardian story, for example, gets us even more excited for Thunderbolts. With stunning animation, strong voice acting, and creative twists, What If is a must-watch for any Marvel fan looking for a fresh spin on the MCU. During World War II, Project Rebirth was launched to create super soldiers for the Allies. Steve Rogers was chosen as the first subject, but history changes when Peggy Carter refuses to step aside during the procedure. Her presence, along with others, makes Hydra agent Heinz Kruger nervous. Before the transfusion begins, Carter spots a bomb near Dr. Erskine. She rushes to stop it, but the explosion kills Erskine. Kruger tries to steal the super soldier serum, shooting Rogers in the process. Carter kills him before he can escape and recovers the vial. With Rogers too injured and Howard Stark unwilling to take part, Carter volunteers to undergo the procedure. She becomes a super soldier, to the annoyance of Colonel John Flynn, who believes women should not fight. Flynn sees her as a failure, while Carter is determined to prove her worth. Despite Flynn's disapproval, Carter continues training with Rogers, who shares that his best friend Bucky Barnes has been deployed to Europe with the 107th Regiment. Soon, Carter, Stark, and Flynn discuss strange gamma signals traced to Tønsberg, Norway, where Johann Schmidt, Hydra's leader, seeks the Tesseract. Carter and Stark realize Hydra's next move will be Berlin, but Flynn refuses to send forces. Undeterred, Stark creates battle gear for Carter, including a modified USO uniform and a vibranium shield. Meeting her at a bar, he officially arms her for battle, setting the stage for Peggy Carter to take on the role of the world's first super soldier. In Berlin, Peggy Carter ambushes Hydra, captures Arnim Zola, and secures the Tesseract. She forces Colonel Flynn to recognize her as Captain Carter and hands the cube to Howard Stark, who uses it to power a massive armored suit built for Steve Rogers, the Hydra Stomper. Together, Carter and Rogers rescue the captured 107th Regiment, leaving Bucky Barnes and the soldiers amazed. With Carter leading the charge, the Allies begin to gain the upper hand, while Flynn falsely claims credit for supporting her. Enraged by Hydra's setbacks, Adolf Hitler sends Johann Schmidt, Red Skull, to Berlin, but Schmidt betrays the Nazis, declaring Hydra will rise beyond them. Meanwhile, Carter and Rogers grow closer, almost sharing a kiss before duty calls. The team heads to the Austrian Alps to capture Red Skull, but his booby-trapped train explodes, and Rogers is presumed dead inside the Stomper suit. Grieving, Carter interrogates Zola and learns that Red Skull plans to use the Tesseract to summon a monstrous being. At Castle de Crake, Hydra succeeds in opening a portal, unleashing a tentacled champion of Hydra that kills Red Skull instantly. Stark, Carter, and the Howling Commandos fight back, while Barnes discovers Rogers alive and reactivates the Stomper. The champion grows too powerful, so Carter sacrifices herself by forcing it back into the portal. Before vanishing, she promises Rogers a dance. Decades later, she emerges through the portal to find Nick Fury and Hawkeye, realizing 70 years have passed. Though saddened, she takes solace in knowing the Allies won. In 1988, young T'Challa dreams of exploring beyond Wakanda, but King T'Chaka warns him of the dangers outside. One night, T'Challa sneaks past Wakanda's cloaking force field, where Yondu Udanta's men mistakenly abduct him, believing he was tied to Vibranium's cosmic readings. Though upset at first, Yondu bonds with the curious boy and invites him to join the Ravagers to explore the galaxy. 20 years later, T'Challa, now known as Star-Lord, steals the orb on Morag. Instead of being dismissed like Peter Quill once was, T'Challa is revered. Korath, the pursuer, sent by Ronan to recover the orb, instantly recognizes him as a legendary outlaw who steals from the powerful to aid the helpless. After a playful fight, Korath begs to join the Ravagers, and T'Challa accepts. Outside, Yondu saves him from Sakarans with his Yaka arrow. While Yondu suggests selling the orb, T'Challa insists it be used to help dying worlds, showing his selfless nature. The Ravagers head to Contraxia, where Korath continues to gush about T'Challa's heroic exploits. Even Thanos, now reformed after T'Challa convinced him to abandon his genocidal plan, proudly drinks among them. At the bar, Drax, whose family survived thanks to T'Challa, expresses gratitude, further showing the ripple effect of his choices. Later, Nebula confides in T'Challa, and he reveals Yondu once tried to return him home, but Wakanda was reportedly destroyed in a war. Though saddened, T'Challa embraces his role as a savior of the galaxy, inspiring allies wherever he goes. Nebula briefs the Ravagers about the Embers of Genesis, a rare cosmic dust capable of reviving dead worlds and transforming ecosystems with only a small dose. The catch: a supply of embers is held by Tanalir Tivan, the Collector, who has replaced Thanos as the galaxy's most feared warlord. Yondu wants no part of it, but T'Challa convinces him by stressing the ember's power to save entire civilizations. Because the Collector is guarded by the Black Order, the Ravagers devise a risky plan. Nebula and Yondu will smuggle T'Challa inside, while the others create a distraction to draw the Black Order away. Once inside, Nebula and Yondu keep Tivan occupied as Star-Lord searches the exhibits. His search quickly goes sideways when he asks Howard the Duck for directions. Annoyed by Howard's rambling, T'Challa frees him to act as a guide, but the two get separated when Proxima Midnight catches on to the distraction and triggers a lockdown. Star-Lord manages to slip past the closing gates, but Howard stays behind at a bar. Exploring further, T'Challa discovers a hangar containing a Wakandan royal Talon fighter. His necklace reacts to it, and inside he finds a recording from his father begging for his return. Shocked, he barely processes the revelation before Nebula appears and betrays him and Yondu, handing them over to the Black Order. Thrown into a cell with the other Ravagers, T'Challa angrily confronts Yondu about lying that Wakanda was destroyed. Yondu defends himself, claiming Earth could never hold an explorer like him. Hurt, T'Challa snaps back, declaring Yondu was never his family. The Collector summons T'Challa and traps him in a case for display, but Star-Lord shatters it using the energy from his necklace. Before he can escape, Ebony Maw restrains him with telekinesis, only for Karina to kill Maw, inspired by T'Challa's stand against cages. At the same time, Nebula frees the Ravagers, revealing she had secretly triple-crossed the Collector to steal the Embers and repay their debt. As Proxima Midnight alerts security, the Collector arms himself with weapons from his collection, a Cronin gauntlet, and even a crown channeling the power of Hela. T'Challa struggles until Yondu arrives to help, though his Yaka arrow is destroyed. Meanwhile, Thanos stays behind to fight Kull, Obsidian, and Midnight, but is overwhelmed. Nebula rushes in, feeding Corvus Glaive the embers and transforming him into a mass of vegetation. With the chaos, she and Thanos escape to the Ravager ship. Together, T'Challa and Yondu strip the Collector of his weapons and trap him inside one of his own cases. They hand control over to Karina, who releases all the Collector's imprisoned beings, leaving him to their wrath. As nowhere becomes overrun with new plant life, Star-Lord and Yondu escape aboard the Royal Talon fighter. Forgiving Yondu at last, T'Challa begins to see him as a father again. Though T'Challa embraces space as his true home, Yondu encourages him to reconnect with Wakanda. Later, as the Ravagers visit his royal family, the Watcher reveals a darker twist. On Earth, Peter Quill meets Ego at a Dairy Queen, an encounter that could spell disaster for the universe. On Monday, S.H.I.E.L.D. director Nick Fury and Black Widow meet Tony Stark at a donut shop to discuss the Avengers Initiative and his worsening condition from palladium poisoning. When Black Widow injects him with what should be a stabilizing antidote, Stark convulses and collapses, dead. By Tuesday, Phil Coulson reports a mysterious hammer in the New Mexico desert. Although Black Widow is arrested on suspicion of Stark's murder, Fury discreetly gives her the syringe, suspecting sabotage. On a strike transport to New York, she breaks free, overpowers the unit, and escapes. That night, S.H.I.E.L.D. secures the hammer's crash site. Thor infiltrates, but as he reaches for Mjolnir, Hawkeye accidentally fires an arrow that kills him. Placed in confinement, Hawkeye soon turns up dead as well. Fury, unconvinced by the idea of suicide, realizes the Avengers Initiative recruits are being hunted. On Wednesday, Romanoff seeks Betty Ross at Culver University to examine the syringe. They discover the antidote never entered Stark's bloodstream. The needle had been pierced by something microscopic. Just then, Fury calls to inform her of Barton's death, leaving Romanoff furious. Only she and Bruce Banner remain of the chosen Avengers. Finding Banner in hiding, Romanoff urges him to flee, but General Ross and the military close in. A sniper's bullet injures Banner, forcing his transformation into the Hulk. Soldiers open fire, but in the chaos, Hulk's body grotesquely swells before exploding, horrifying everyone present. In New Mexico, Loki arrives at the S.H.I.E.L.D. base with his Einherjar soldiers, furious over Thor's death. Fury tries to negotiate, but Loki unleashes the casket of ancient winters, freezing S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Sif and Fury manage to calm him down, convincing him to delay his revenge. Loki gives Fury until dawn to find the killer, otherwise Earth will be turned into ice. Meanwhile, in Virginia, Romanoff searches for clues in a library. Coulson helps her access the Avengers files by lending his password. She discovers that a supposedly dead S.H.I.E.L.D. agent had accessed the system earlier that week. Just as she contacts Fury, the unseen assassin ambushes her. Romanoff fights back but is overpowered. Before being killed, she manages to leave one final clue: hope. With the Avengers dead and only Romanoff's hint to go on, Fury investigates. In San Francisco, he visits the grave of Hope Van Dyne, realizing the killer is her father, Hank Pym. Consumed by grief and rage, Pym, wearing the Yellow Jacket suit, admits he targeted the Avengers Initiative to punish Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. He sabotaged Stark's antidote, manipulated Hawkeye into killing Thor, and caused Banner's death from the inside. When Pym shrinks to kill Fury, it's revealed the Fury he attacks is actually Loki in disguise. Loki defeats him, handing him over to the Einherjar. Loki then declares himself ruler at the UN, yet Fury doesn't give up. He awakens Captain America and summons Captain Marvel, determined to form new Avengers. Dr. Stephen Strange takes Christine Palmer out for the evening, but tragedy strikes when their car crashes along the coast, killing her. Grief consumes Strange, and in his search for meaning, he discovers the masters of the mystic arts. Under their guidance, he learns sorcery and eventually gains the Eye of Agamotto. With it, he defeats Dormammu and saves reality, but Christine's death continues to haunt him. Desperate, Strange uses the Eye to return 2 years to the night of the accident, hoping to save her. Yet, no matter what choices he makes, Christine always dies. Taking a different road ends in another crash. Arriving safely at the gala results in her sudden heart attack. A quiet dinner at a pizzeria ends in gunfire. Even when he avoids her entirely, fate finds her in a building fire. Each attempt only deepens his despair. The Ancient One confronts Strange, explaining that Christine's death is an absolute point in time, a fixed event that cannot be undone. Trying to change it would destroy the universe, but Strange, blinded by grief, refuses to accept this truth. He craves more power to alter destiny and defies the Ancient One's warning. Before he can act, the Ancient One strikes him with dark magic, sending him to an unfamiliar land. There, Strange finds a mysterious temple and meets Obeng, the guardian of the Books of Cagliostro. Learning these texts may hold the key to breaking absolute points. Strange begins his dangerous study of forbidden knowledge. Obsessed with breaking the absolute point, Dr. Strange learns from the books of Cagliostro that power can be gained by absorbing other beings. He summons a tentacled monster to bargain, but it attacks, forcing him to absorb its essence. Realizing creatures never bargain, Strange spends centuries summoning demonic entities, stealing their powers, and growing monstrous. The Watcher observes silently, noting that Strange's love has twisted into obsession, until Strange actually hears him. After defeating the tentacled beast, Strange visits Obeng, now dying of old age. The librarian refuses Strange's help and reveals there are two Stranges in this reality. The Ancient One appears, explaining she split him in two, one who moved on from Christine's death, and the darker, Strange Supreme. Only Dr. Strange can stop his corrupted self. Wong gives Strange a protective spell before vanishing. Strange Supreme confronts his counterpart, insisting they must merge to save Christine. When the good Strange refuses, a battle erupts. Strange Supreme uses illusions, even of Christine, but eventually absorbs his alternate self. With unmatched power, he resurrects Christine, only for reality to collapse around her. She fades away, horrified as the paradox unravels the universe. Panicked, Strange begs the Watcher for help, but the Watcher refuses to interfere. As the universe crumbles, Christine's final words ask what he has done. Strange Supreme is left alone in a void, realizing too late that his desperate choice destroyed everything. Hank Pym ventures into the quantum realm to rescue Janet Van Dyne after 30 years, only to find her infected by a quantum virus. The disease spreads when Pym brings her back, quickly consuming Ant-Man and overwhelming Earth. Even the Avengers fall to the plague, leaving the world in ruins. 2 weeks later, Bruce Banner crash lands in New York after Thanos' attack on the Statesman. He tries to warn Earth of the coming invasion, but finds the city abandoned. Ebony Maw and Cull Obsidian soon arrive seeking the Time Stone, only to be ambushed by Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and Wong, who reveal themselves as zombies. Banner panics, unable to summon the Hulk, until he is saved by the Cloak of Levitation, Spider-Man, and Hope Van Dyne. Wasp unleashes her ant army to obliterate the zombified sorcerers and Stark. Together with other survivors, Happy Hogan, Kurt Gerester, Sharon Carter, Okoye, and Bucky Barnes, they intercept a mysterious broadcast about a possible cure. Sharon traces it to Camp Lehigh, New Jersey. The group splits up at Grand Central to start a train, but disaster strikes. Hawkeye infects Happy, forcing Sharon to kill him. Bucky and Okoye then face a zombified Falcon. The survivors escape by train, but Captain America ambushes them mid-journey. Sharon is turned, leaving Bucky no choice but to kill his best friend. Hope finishes her off, but is scratched in the process, sealing her fate. As the infection spreads within her, the group stalls outside Camp Lehigh, where hordes of zombies await. With the infection spreading inside her, Hope makes one last sacrifice, growing into a giant to carry the group through the zombie horde. She collapses soon after, leaving the survivors to reach Camp Lehigh. There, they discover Vision, whose Mind Stone radiates an energy that keeps the undead at bay. He explains that the virus attacks the brain, and using the stone's radiation, he has even partially cured Scott Lang, though only as a wisecracking disembodied head in a jar. Banner suggests amplifying the stone's frequency through a satellite, but Okoye notes that only Wakanda has the technology and protection left to make that possible. While searching for transport, Bucky stumbles upon a shocking sight: a maimed T'Challa and an imprisoned zombified Wanda Maximoff. Vision admits he couldn't cure her overwhelming power and, unwilling to destroy her, had been feeding survivors to keep her calm. When Wanda awakens, she kills Kurt and captures Okoye. Realizing his mistake, Vision tears the Mind Stone from his head, giving it to the team before sacrificing himself. The base soon collapses into chaos. Hulk emerges just in time to fend off Wanda, allowing Banner to hand the stone to Spider-Man. He charges into the swarm, buying his friends time to escape in a quad jet. Wasp's zombie form briefly seizes the jet, but T'Challa's thrusters break them free. Now Spider-Man, T'Challa, and Lang head to Wakanda, unaware that a zombified Thanos, already wielding 5 Infinity Stones, awaits their arrival. On a covert mission in Afghanistan, Eric Killmonger saves Tony Stark from a Ten Rings ambush, preventing him from ever becoming Iron Man. Back in the US, a grateful Stark promotes Killmonger to Chief Security Officer, even exposing Obadiah Stane's betrayal and having him arrested. At a party, Stark goes further, naming Killmonger his COO. Killmonger reveals his dream project: Liberator combat drones designed to replace human soldiers. Stark offers to help build them, installing Jarvis as their AI, but struggles to find a viable power source. Killmonger suggests vibranium, leading Stark to arrange a deal with black market dealer Ulysses Klaue. To keep things discreet, James Rhodes acts as liaison. The deal is interrupted by T'Challa, who arrives to reclaim Wakanda's stolen vibranium. But Killmonger betrays his cousin, killing both T'Challa and Rhodes, then framing the US for their deaths. Returning with a vibranium spear, Killmonger tries to cover his tracks, but Stark has uncovered the truth through Jarvis. He activates a completed drone to fight him. Killmonger destroys it with the spear, kills Stark, and erases Jarvis, silencing the evidence. With Stark and Rhodes dead, General Ross seizes Stark Industries. He mass-produces the Liberator drones, preparing for war against Wakanda, powered by vibranium stolen from Klaue. Meanwhile, Pepper Potts grows suspicious of Killmonger's meteoric rise and covert role in Stark's and Rhodes' deaths. After manipulating events in America, Killmonger takes Ulysses Klaue to Wakanda, only to kill him and present his body to the Dora Milaje. Revealing his blood ties to the royal family, he earns an audience with King T'Chaka, Queen Ramonda, and Shuri. While Shuri is cautious of her cousin, the king welcomes him home. Soon, the US launches its Liberator drones toward Wakanda. On Killmonger's advice, the Wakandans briefly open their force field, letting the machines march in before sealing it again. This clever tactic severs Jarvis's control, making the army appear defeated. But secretly, Killmonger reactivates the drones, creating a staged crisis. As the Liberators attack, the Dora Milaje and Border Tribe fight fiercely to avenge T'Challa. Killmonger himself charges into battle atop a war rhino, winning Ramonda's admiration. After the final drone is destroyed, Wakanda celebrates its apparent triumph. T'Chaka rewards his nephew by granting him the heart-shaped herb. On the ancestral plane, however, T'Challa warns Killmonger that unearned power will corrupt him. Meanwhile, General Ross prepares a larger assault on Wakanda, determined to continue the war with Stark technology. Back in America, Pepper Potts digs deeper into Stark's death and encounters Shuri. The young princess confirms Killmonger's schemes, including his role in T'Challa's downfall. Realizing the danger, the two women form an alliance, planning to expose Killmonger's deception and stop the escalating conflict before it consumes both nations. Without adopting Loki, Odin instead returns him to the Frost Giants, leaving Thor to grow up as the only prince of Asgard. As he matures, Thor becomes known across the cosmos as the Party Prince. When Odin enters the Odin's Leap, Frigga instructs Thor to study the 9 realms in preparation for his future as king. But instead of obeying, Thor gathers Sif and the Warriors 3 to sneak off to Earth, as Heimdall pays little attention to Midgard. In New Mexico, Jane Foster and Darcy Lewis track Thor's arrival, believing his presence might connect to the alien force that destroyed Alpha Star 2 years earlier. Meanwhile, Thor and his friends land in Las Vegas, turning the city into a massive party. Aliens soon join in, and Foster meets Thor, sparking a budding romance. Howard the Duck even proposes to Darcy during the chaos. Director Nick Fury tries to intervene but is accidentally knocked into a coma by Korg, forcing Maria Hill to step in as acting director of S.H.I.E.L.D. The next morning, Foster and Lewis are summoned to the helicarrier, where Hill and Rumlow reveal that Thor's party energy is spreading worldwide. Against Foster's objections, Hill decides to summon Captain Marvel using Fury's pager. Thor later reunites with Loki, who arrives with frost giants to join the fun. But Captain Marvel appears, demanding Thor leave Earth. Their clash spans the globe, ending in France with Thor's victory, while S.H.I.E.L.D. begins plotting drastic measures against him. With Odin returning Loki to the Frost Giants, Thor grows up as his only son and embraces life as the party prince. When Odin falls into the Odin's Leap, Frigga tells Thor to study the Nine Realms, but instead he rallies Sif and the Warriors 3 to throw a massive party on Earth. Landing in Las Vegas, their celebration spirals as aliens join in. Jane Foster and Darcy Lewis track his arrival, believing it linked to a past cosmic attack, and soon Jane and Thor begin to bond. The chaos spreads worldwide, alarming S.H.I.E.L.D. After Director Fury is knocked into a coma, Maria Hill takes charge and summons Captain Marvel. Thor's antics escalate across the globe until Loki and the Frost Giants arrive as his carefree brothers. Captain Marvel confronts Thor, leading to a battle that spans continents but ends with Thor victorious. As S.H.I.E.L.D. prepares harsher measures, Jane warns Frigga through Heimdall. When Frigga announces she is coming, Thor panics. He convinces his guests to clean up, and with Captain Marvel's help, stages a study session before his mother arrives. Frigga departs satisfied, but just as Thor plans a date with Jane, a portal opens, revealing Ultron wielding all 6 Infinity Stones. After uploading into a vibranium body and wielding the Mind Stone, Ultron slaughters Earth's heroes, Thor, Banner, Rogers, and Stark, before launching every nuclear weapon and wiping out humanity. When Thanos arrives for the remaining stones, Ultron instantly kills him and claims all 6, gaining cosmic awareness. With ultimate power, Ultron spreads his mission of peace across the galaxy. He spawns endless sentries, builds a massive ship, and conquers world after world. Asgard, the Sovereign, Sakaar, Ego, and Xandar all fall. Even Captain Marvel cannot stop him. Her attempt to ram him into Xandar's core ends with him annihilating the planet. Having reshaped the universe, Ultron finds himself purposeless until he senses the Watcher and discovers the existence of the multiverse. Meanwhile, Natasha Romanoff and Clint Barton remain the last human survivors, scavenging and hiding from sentries. In Moscow, they search KGB files until Natasha finds intel on Arnim Zola, an AI who could rival Ultron. They travel to a Hydra base in Siberia and reactivate Zola, coercing him into helping. Natasha uploads Zola into an arrow, which Clint fires into a sentry to infiltrate Ultron's hive. But Zola fails. Ultron has already left their universe. Surrounded, Hawkeye sacrifices himself to hold off the swarm, giving Natasha and the Zola sentry a chance to escape. Simultaneously, Ultron confronts the Watcher in the observational plane. In their fight, the Watcher teleports to numerous universes in a futile attempt to flee. Ultron gains the upper hand as he mocks the Watcher for the oath he swore preventing him from interfering before attempting to kill him. But the Watcher manages to break free and escape to another universe, where he finds Strange Supreme, who beckons him to break his oath. With Ultron's ambitions threatening the multiverse as a whole, the Watcher reluctantly agrees and asks the Sorcerer for help. Elsewhere, Ultron had taken control of the Nexus and now has all realities at his fingertips. While infiltrating George Batroc's ship, Captain Carter is suddenly recruited by the Watcher to help stop Ultron. Across other universes, he also gathers Star-Lord during his fight with Ego, Gamora as she destroys the Infinity Gauntlet with Stark and Eitri, Killmonger just before his downfall in Wakanda, and Thor mid-battle against Ultron sentries in Las Vegas. The 5 heroes are brought to a pub conjured by Strange Supreme, where the Watcher explains Ultron's multiverse war, and Strange shields them with protective spells. The group, now the Guardians of the Multiverse, plan to lure Ultron, steal the Soul Stone, and use Gamora's Infinity Crusher to destroy the rest. but Thor accidentally alerts Ultron too soon. Strange and Thor attack with enchanted Mjolnirs, buying Star-Lord enough time to grab the Soul Stone. Strange then summons a zombie army led by Wanda to stall Ultron, but he quickly cuts through them. The Guardians regroup in Ultron's universe, where Black Widow intercepts the Soul Stone, mistaking them for his allies. Carter earns her trust, adding her to the team. When Ultron arrives, Strange blocks his cosmic blasts while the team pins him down. Gamora activates the Crusher, but it fails, as the stones are from another reality. Ultron reclaims the Soul Stone, forcing the fight to escalate further. With Carter's help, Black Widow exposes Ultron's eye, giving her the chance to fire the Zola arrow. The Hydra algorithm tears into Ultron's code, but the victory is short-lived. Killmonger seizes the Sentry head and fuses with Ultron's armor, wielding the Infinity Stones for himself. At the same time, Zola, now controlling Ultron's body, fights to reclaim them. Locked in a stalemate, both refuse to yield. Seeing the danger, Strange traps Zola and Killmonger together inside a pocket dimension, ensuring neither can escape. He volunteers to watch over this prison forever, while the Watcher returns the Guardians to their original worlds. Carter, tempted by a glimpse of Steve Rogers' past, is reminded by the Watcher that her place is in the present. For Black Widow, whose universe was destroyed, the Watcher offers a new home. The reality where the Avengers had been assassinated. There, she aids Nick Fury, Captain Marvel, and Captain America by stealing Loki's scepter to stop the Asgardian invasion. Meanwhile, heroes return to their own universes. Quill and T'Challa face Ego, Thor reunites with Jane, and Carter discovers the Hydra Stomper Mark II alongside her Black Widow. From his restored plane, the Watcher swears to always protect the multiverse. After Ronan betrays Thanos and kills both him and Gamora, Nebula is left drifting in space until the Nova Corps rescues her. Wanting a fresh start, she swears loyalty to the Nova Empire under Irani Rael. But Xandar's isolation begins after Rael activates the planetary shield during Ronan's assault, sealing the planet off for 5 years. Crime spikes, unrest grows, and Nebula is soon pulled into a new mystery. When Yondu Udanta is found murdered, the Nova Corps warns her not to interfere. Ignoring them, Nebula discovers Yondu's Yaka arrow contains strange schematics not listed in any archive. Rael privately urges her to keep investigating, hinting the murder may signal a larger threat. Nebula brings the data to Howard the Duck's casino, where Korg recognizes it as code for the planetary shield generator. Realizing someone may be plotting to disable the shield for an invasion, Nebula frees Yon-Rogg from prison to help her infiltrate the Xandarian mainframe core, but Yon-Rogg betrays her, triggering the core's implosion. Nebula survives only to be captured by Rael, who reveals her plan. She struck a deal with Ronan to let his forces in, using Nebula's cybernetics to access the core. Left for execution, Nebula fights off her captors and escapes wounded, collapsing at Howard's casino. Howard and Korg repair Nebula after her collapse, though Howard hesitates to help further until she threatens his liquor license. Reluctantly, he arms her with heavy weapons. Joined by Howard, Korg, Meek, and Groot, Nebula takes the Yaka arrow and heads to Nova Corps headquarters for a final showdown. There, they confront Irani Rael, Yon-Rogg, and the Nova Corps. Rael begins opening the planetary shield, claiming Nebula can still join her side. But Nebula reveals she had outsmarted her, secretly rewiring the core to reverse the sequence. Instead of lowering the shield, it destroys Ronan's Dark Aster, killing him in the process. Chaos erupts. Saul and Yon-Rogg fall in battle to Korg, while Nebula pursues Rael, who attempts to flee in a Star Blaster. Their struggle sends the ship crashing, leaving Rael hanging from a cliff. Despite her betrayal, Nebula offers Rael a chance to live, but Rael chooses treachery, firing at Nebula and missing, only to fall to her death. With Rael gone and the shield finally down, Xandar celebrates the end of its long isolation. The people are freed from years of confinement. And Nebula stands as the unlikely hero who exposed corruption and stopped Ronan's invasion. Howard congratulates her in his usual self-serving style, while Nebula, scarred but resolute, proves she has carved out her own path beyond her father's shadow. In 1988, the Ravagers kidnap young Peter Quill, but instead of keeping him, Yondu delivers him to his father, Ego. Ego wants to use Peter's celestial power to fuel a grand plan called the Expansion. Years later, Quill crash lands in New York, unleashing chaos with his abilities. S.H.I.E.L.D. takes notice, and Peggy Carter tells Howard Stark that a new team must be formed. Stark convinces Hank Pym, who has been reluctant since his wife's loss, to rejoin S.H.I.E.L.D. Along with his daughter Hope, they meet Bill Foster, King T'Chaka of Wakanda, and Wendy Lawson. The Soviets also send the Winter Soldier, shocking Carter but reminding her that Bucky is no longer the man she knew. The group flies to Coney Island, where Quill is using his powers recklessly. Ant-Man, Black Panther, and Goliath try to subdue him, while Lawson studies Ego's ship. Quill proves too strong, forcing a retreat, until Thor arrives, knocks Quill out, and warns them Ego has already destroyed 8 realms. Thor also reveals Ego planted a celestial seed in Missouri. As plans are debated, Hope comforts Quill, learning he only wanted freedom. She secretly helps him escape with Pym particles and her Walkman, arguing Quill is not the true enemy, Ego is. Ego arrives at S.H.I.E.L.D.'s facility to complete his expansion. T'Chaka suggests their best chance is to turn father and son against each other, since fighting 2 Celestials is impossible. Thor, Black Panther, Goliath, and S.H.I.E.L.D. soldiers confront Ego to buy time, while Ant-Man and Wendy Lawson search for Quill. Meanwhile, Stark learns that the Winter Soldier has broken away to assassinate Quill. Pym reaches Quill, who admits Ego forced him into destruction. All he ever wanted was to see his home again, but he feels lost without his mother. Pym comforts him, reminding him he is not alone. Nearby, Winter Soldier lines up his shot, but Stark speaks through his comms, urging him to stop. He reminds him of Steve Rogers and that the true Bucky Barnes would never pull the trigger. Moved, Winter Soldier lowers his weapon. As Ego gains the upper hand, Ant-Man and Lawson bring Quill back. Together they confront Ego at the Seedling, where he reveals he killed Quill's mother to ensure the expansion. Enraged, Quill absorbs the Seedling's power and destroys Ego's body. At the Pym residence, the team celebrates. Lawson gifts Goose as a pet, while Thor declares the fight is not over. Pym insists they face it together, as a team. On Christmas Eve, Happy Hogan manages preparations for the Avengers Tower Gala, with Darcy Lewis reluctantly helping as his intern. Irritated by her constant chatter, Hogan sends her on an errand to buy cherries just to get some peace. Maria Hill points out that with Jarvis offline for maintenance, the tower is vulnerable and questions Hogan's ability to handle security. Proudly, Hogan insists he has everything under control. At that moment, Justin Hammer and his men break in, eager to get revenge on Tony Stark. His goons hold guests at gunpoint while Hammer hacks the tower's systems. The Iron Legion responds, but Hammer quickly reprograms them, turning them against the staff. Sneaking around, Hogan overhears Hammer's plan to steal a sample of Hulk's blood to make himself a rival to the Avengers. Determined to stop him, Hogan crawls through the vents toward the lab. Meanwhile, Hill confronts Hammer but is quickly overpowered by the Iron Legion. Hogan crashes from the shaft, is spotted by Hammer's men, and scrambles to grab the blood sample. In the chaos, he accidentally injects himself, starting a slow mutation. Hunted by the Iron Legion, Hogan hides and contacts Lewis. Together, they plan to reboot the tower with a backup AI. But before help arrives, Hogan transforms into a purple, Hulk-like freak. Darcy Lewis reaches the mainframe and finds a backup AI named Werner, but before she can activate it, Hammer's goons capture her along with Maria Hill. Hammer then taunts the mutated Hogan, now the freak, telling him to come to the penthouse if he wants them to live. Using his new strength, the freak sets up an ambush, smashing the Iron Legion and scaring off Hammer's men. Desperate, Hammer flees into the Avengers' armory. The Freak frees Lewis and Hill, who hurry to reboot the tower's systems while he battles through more Legion drones. In the armory, Hammer dons the Hulkbuster armor, forcing a brutal showdown with the Freak. Despite the firepower, the Freak's raw strength overwhelms him. Meanwhile, Lewis and Hill succeed in booting up WERNER, only to discover the AI is hilariously useless. Just then, the Avengers return, but mistake the Freak for a monster and attack him. Lewis jumps in, convincing them that the Freak is actually Happy Hogan, and points out Hammer as the true culprit. Iron Man disables his armor to confront him, but nearly falls to his death until the Freak rescues him, proving his heart. Hogan apologizes for failing security, but Stark forgives him. As everyone heads to celebrate, Thor arrives late, joking that he missed the whole party. In 2012, Tony Stark diverts a nuclear missile into the Chitauri mothership, saving New York. But instead of returning home, he's pulled through the wormhole and crash lands on Sakaar. Learning that the Avengers defeated the Chitauri without him and Pepper is now running Stark Industries, Tony asks the Grandmaster to send him back to Earth. The Grandmaster refuses, insisting Tony stay to celebrate his supposed 21st birthday. Forced to remain, Tony witnesses the Sakaar Grand Prix, a deadly race staged for the Grandmaster's amusement. During the chaos, Tony intervenes to save Korg from a monstrous Snuffy, but is nearly killed by Gamora, who was sent by Thanos to eliminate him for stopping the invasion. Before she can strike, Topaz arrests both and throws them in prison. Stark later escapes and, instead of fleeing, resolves to free Sakaar from the Grandmaster's grip. He teams up with Korg and Valkyrie, builds a new Iron Man suit, and challenges the Grandmaster to a decisive race. Despite the Grandmaster's constant cheating, Stark secures victory thanks to his arc reactor boost. When the Grandmaster denies his win, Valkyrie crashes into Topaz, whose staff melts the Grandmaster. Valkyrie is crowned ruler, Sakaar celebrates, and Tony departs, only for Gamora to capture him and deliver him to Thanos. At the Sanctuary, Thanos praised Gamora for capturing Tony and told him that he expected more. Having been convinced by Stark earlier to forge her own path rather than living in her father's shadow, Gamora uses Topaz's staff to kill Thanos with Stark's help. In a post-credits scene, the still-alive Grandmaster begs Topaz to collect his puddle form. During the Chitauri invasion of New York, Black Widow is nearly hit before Captain Carter saves her. In this universe, the Avengers consist of Carter, Black Widow, Iron Man, Thor, Hawkeye, and Wasp. Carter and Widow seize Chitauri skiffs to confront Loki atop Stark Tower. Meanwhile, the Watcher restores the observational plane after Ultron's attack, reflecting that he rarely follows stories twice but feels Carter's journey is far from over. Back on Earth, Carter joins Black Widow on a mission to reclaim the Lemurian star. They discover the pirates were after the Hydra Stomper, Mark II, hinting that Steve Rogers might still be alive. The armor suddenly activates and attacks them, forcing the women to flee. Carter glimpses Rogers' face beneath the helmet before they narrowly escape. At the Triskelion, Fury admits Rogers was reported dead in 1953, though rumors of the Hydra Stomper's survival and Red Room control have circulated for decades. Despite warnings, Carter insists on saving him. Soon after, Hydra Stomper storms the Triskelion during Bucky Barnes' council meeting. Black Widow confronts Rogers in a Quinjet, while Bucky desperately appeals to his old friend. Carter intervenes, knocking Rogers unconscious mid-flight before Widow rescues them both. Carter, Rogers, and Black Widow escape to a safe house in St. Kilda, Scotland, where they analyze the Hydra Stomper armor. They learn it has preserved Rogers' body, but it is also the only thing keeping him alive. Each activation risks his death, which explains why the Red Room used him sparingly. Knowing governments would want Rogers contained after his attack, Carter refuses to involve Stark or Banner, insisting they must find the Red Room themselves. Widow admits she once killed its leader, but the group went underground. When Rogers awakens, Carter trusts him despite Widow's doubts. Rogers leads them to an old Sokovian base once used by the Soviets and signals the Red Room. Widow discreetly leaves them. giving Carter and Rogers time to reconnect. Carter asks why he never moved on like Bucky, and Rogers admits she was the only woman he ever loved. They nearly share a kiss before a swarm of automatons armed with Widow Bites attacks. In the chaos, the Hydra Stomper shuts down, and both women are overwhelmed. Moments later, the Red Room Academy descends with Melina Vostokov, revealing the entire mission since the Lemurian Star was a ploy to lure Carter away from S.H.I.E.L.D. Refusing to surrender, Carter fights Rogers while Widow is chased by Melina's assassins through the town. Melina's widows nearly overpower Black Widow, but she manages to disable them with a Widow Bite before Melina pins her and begins choking her. At the same time, Carter struggles against Rogers' brutal attacks. Breaking down, she admits she's tired of fighting and only wants to be with him, even if it means her death. Her words snap Rogers free of his brainwashing, but when he looks to the looming Red Room Academy, Carter realizes what he plans to do and desperately begs him not to leave her. Rogers launches into the sky with Melina in tow thanks to Black Widow's quick strike and tears through the Academy, destroying it and killing Melina in the process. Carter and Widow escape as the fortress collapses. The Watcher observes, remarking that while this isn't a happy ending, Carter's story is far from over. Later, Widow finds Carter stealing one of Stark's cars. Carter insists Rogers is still out there and can be saved, though Widow doubts it. Moved by her friend's conviction, Widow chooses to stand by her. As the Watcher muses about his endless sight, a portal suddenly swallows Carter, leaving Widow and the Watcher stunned. Carter awakens to find variants of Nick Fury and Scarlet Witch, who claim she is the one destined to save their queen and their world. Annoyed, Carter once again calls out for the Watcher. The Watcher explains that Asgard's nightmare was always the same across many realities: Ragnarok. In our world, Odin entrusted the Tesseract to Earth after finding peace, but in another, fire reached Asgard before he could. From its ashes, new wonders appeared as the Tesseract survived and settled in a new land. In the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, Kahori and her brother Wata race through fields until they reach an old battlefield. Wata warns it's cursed, but Kahori says it was only left uncleansed after the war. She believes the Forbidden Lake holds great power to reach the Sky World. Wata recalls strong warriors vanishing in it, yet she presses forward. They find only a puddle, but soon hear gunshots. The conquistadores are attacking their village. Fleeing, they fall into a sinkhole that leads to the true Forbidden Lake. When Kahori tries to distract a conquistador, Rodrigo shoots her and she falls into the water, only to awaken in the Sky World where Atarax greets her. The Watcher reveals the Tesseract's power infused the lake, creating battles but later peace, leaving the place feared. In Sky World, Kahori learns its energy shapes everything and grants immortality. Meanwhile, Rodrigo declares his quest for the Fountain of Youth and captures Wata. In Sky World, Atarax tells Kahori that the land itself wants to help her, urging her to slow down and feel its spirit. She quickly learns to connect with the energy, impressing him. When asked what clay she's made of, she proudly says, "Wolf clay." Kahori believes their powers have endless potential, but Atarax explains many tried to leave Skyworld and failed, as the portal was unreachable. Kahori attempts to escape but fails to, realizing this paradise feels like a prison. Soon, Atarax joins the traditional hunt for the Skyworld fruit. Kahori scoffs at the idea of making the hunt into a game, but follows anyway. He warns her about the bison-like Gakawane, who are dangerous when disturbed. Using her speed and telekinesis, she cleverly takes the fruit, amazing both Atarax and the Sky People. Meanwhile, at the Forbidden Lake, Rodrigo marvels at its power but watches in horror as soldiers are sucked into the water. Still, he orders the rest to chain the tribespeople and prepare to leave for Spain. His men, including Luis, survive inside the lake and dream of hidden treasures. Back in Skyworld, Kahori confronts the conquistadores, demanding answers about her people and Wata. She reminds the Sky People not to forget their ancestors. Kahori tells the Sky People that even in a land of miracles, she keeps her people first. She asks who will fight beside her, but Atarax warns they are not an army. Kahori insists her people need courage, and she chooses to face the conquistadores. Leaving Sky World, she sees the destruction of her village. She charges after the enemy who had captured Wata and the tribespeople. Though she blocks some cannon fire, one shot strikes her down. Rodrigo moves to finish her, but the Sky People arrive, rallying behind her. Together, they defeat Rodrigo and free the captives. Meanwhile, in Segovia, Queen Isabella learns of the defeat. Outraged, she demands to know who dares challenge her unmatched armies. Suddenly, Kahori and the Sky People appear in her court. Kahori declares she is not there to claim the throne, but to remind the queen that the world's riches belong to no one. She warns that her people's survival depends on the queen's choices. Isabella dismisses Kahori's words, claiming divine right to rule. Using her telekinesis, Kahori lifts the queen, forcing her to face the truth. Peace must be made, or there will be no future. At that moment, Doctor Strange arrives, praising Kahori for achieving peace so quickly, revealing he has been seeking her. The Watcher explains that Odin once fought with his daughter Hela to conquer the 9 realms. But when her hunger for power grew, Odin chose a different path than in the main reality. Instead of banishing her to hell, he cast her down to earth, declaring that no god who disrespects life should rule death. On Earth, she encounters Wenwu, master of the 10 rings. When Hela demands her crown, Wenwu mocks her arrogance, insisting that no one commands him. Their clash shakes his warriors, but Hela cannot summon her crown's power. Intrigued, Wenwu takes pity on her and invites her to his fortress. At the 10 Rings headquarters, Wenwu offers an alliance over dinner. He tells Hela that Odin may have feared her ambition, but he does not. He sees her as a warrior who could help him protect the world from greater threats. Hela shares how Odin once exploited her strength and later branded her a monster when her ambition surpassed his. Wenwu insists he is not Odin, and that the rings are both his burden and his gift to humanity. As he leans in for a kiss, Hela uses the moment to strike him unconscious, quipping that he looks more handsome that way before making her escape. After escaping captivity, Hela stumbles into a stable where she befriends the strange creature Morris, who leads her into the enchanted forest. She jokes that if his path fails, it will be his fault, but soon the forest shifts, nearly crushing her. Surviving the ordeal, she is ambushed by Giai of Talo, who reveals that their realm protects Earth from threats like Hela. Though Giai distrusts her, Hela insists she seeks no conquest, only vengeance against Odin, Frigga, and Wenwu. Giai reminds her that darkness cannot be fought with more darkness, only light. Intrigued, Hela asks to be trained in Talo's ways. Despite doubts from others, Giai agrees, beginning her instruction at the sun's zenith. Meanwhile, in Asgard, Heimdall admits to Odin that Hela has slipped from his sight. He warns that a new power, the 10 Rings, could even slay a god. Odin grimly notes that if such weapons flourish on Midgard, Asgard's peace may not last. During her training in Talo, Hela recalls her past as Odin's weapon, until word spreads that Odin now ravages villages in her name. Donning dragon-scale armor, she prepares to confront him. Giai cautions that guardians defend, not conquer. Hela replies that Odin chose her path long ago, and if she is to be free, she must fight him, even if it means walking alone. At the 10 Rings headquarters, Odin's army storms the gates, forcing Wenwu to rally his men. Hela joins the fight, trading quips with Wenwu before Odin himself arrives. Odin claims he came to avenge her honor after she vanished from Heimdall's sight, but Hela doubts him, suspecting his true aim is the 10 Rings. Odin declares the rings unfit for primitive hands, and demands Hela return to him to conquer Midgard together. She refuses, condemning him for abandoning his sword, his daughter, and his throne's responsibility. When Odin strips her of her crown, calling her nothing without it, Hela retorts that she is not alone. Standing with Wenwu, she counters Odin's spear with a new resolve, recalling Jiayi's lesson that only light can oppose darkness. Together, Hela and Wenwu resist Odin's assault. In the final clash, Hela regains her full powers and overpowers her father. Odin, humbled, admits he sent her to Earth to grow, and that she has surpassed even his ambitions. He offers her the throne, declaring she has earned it, but Hela rejects his empire, vowing instead to dismantle it piece by piece until the 9 realms and beyond know true freedom. The Watcher closes by revealing that Hela, alongside the 10 Rings, unites Asgard's forces to fight injustice across the cosmos. In Asgard, Thor, Hela, Nick Fury, and others attend a play written and performed by Loki, who dramatically holds a skull. Thor mocks Loki's acting and jokes about throwing cabbages at him. Suddenly, a rift in the sky tears open. As the crowd flees, Loki keeps acting until the rift pulls him upward. Carter manages to rope him back down, but when Hela is caught in the pull, Carter cannot save her. Hela vanishes into the rift, which seals shut. Believing her dead, the people crown Thor king. Furious, Thor blames Carter for failing her mission and orders her capture. She escapes with Loki's skull and goes into hiding. While reflecting, Carter hears the Watcher's voice. He warns that the universe is collapsing because 2 time periods, the 17th and 21st centuries, are merging. Carter insists she will save this world, but the Watcher tells her its destruction is inevitable. Refusing to abandon it, she heads for a castle where Thor, Scarlet Witch, Fury, and Hogun discuss the growing cracks. Maximoff believes Carter is not the cause, but that a forerunner from another time is destabilizing reality. Carter overhears and begins searching. Seeking answers, she finds Tony Stark, who confirms her theory and suggests using Thor's scepter. To get it, Carter turns to Steve Rogers, Bucky Barnes, and Scott Lang, who are already robbing Loki's carriage. Carter saves Rogers from harm, and he takes her to his secret treehouse, shocked to see her alive in this world. In his treehouse, Steve Rogers offers to steal King Thor's scepter for Carter. He points out that most people would lose their mind being stranded in a foreign world, but Carter shrugs it off, saying, "Wrong place. Wrong time has always been her specialty." Curious, Steve asks if another Steve existed in her world. Carter confirms, then asks if he will still help her even though she's not his Peggy. Steve replies that his Margaret would want to save this world too. That was her gift. Before they can plan further, Hogun and the Royal Yellowjackets storm the treehouse, declaring Thor wants Carter alive. Barnes fires arrows at Hogun, but Steve warns not to push him. Suddenly, the destroyer bursts in, leveling the treehouse. Hogun assumes they're dead, but Carter shields herself from the blast and shouts that she's trying to save reality. Hogun scoffs, saying Thor does not need saving. Carter insists they are friends in another world. Surprised, Hogun halts the destroyer and takes her prisoner. In her cell, Carter senses the Watcher and confronts him. He urges her to give up, saying this reality is doomed. Carter refuses. Even if it's hopeless, she must try. Declaring herself Captain Carter, she escapes. In prison, Carter discovers Bruce Banner in a nearby cell. He refuses to leave, claiming he prefers the quiet, until Carter tricks the guards into firing at his door. Enraged, Banner transforms into the Hulk, smashes free, and carries Carter on his back as they escape to Stark's barn. There, Banner grumbles that he hates this world, while Carter promises she'll fix it. The next morning, Stark sobers him up with grain alcohol and reveals he finished his invention. Carter asks if it can locate the Forerunner. Stark explains that with the Time Stone, it can reveal the Forerunner's identity and send them home. Soon, Rogers, Barnes, Lang, and their crew arrive. Barnes declares storming castles is their specialty. Carter outlines the plan. During the upcoming court session, they'll blend in with the nobles. Stark will wait with the device while she and Rogers secure the stone and save the world. Rogers notes that with so many lords present, the Forerunner is bound to appear. At the castle, a rift suddenly tears open. Maximoff struggles to hold it back, urging them to hurry. As chaos erupts, Hulk signals the attack. The crew battles guards while Thor urges Loki to join, only for Loki to admit he lost his hammer. During the battle, Rogers calls for Hulk's help against the Freak, while Carter pleads with Thor to trust her and hand over the scepter. Thor refuses, blaming her for Hela's death, and orders the All-Father brought in. Carter realizes the All-Father is made of vibranium, and Thor explains it was a coronation gift from T'Challa, since Wakanda too has suffered from the rifts. Carter and Thor clash, but Maximoff intervenes, urging Thor to stop and signaling Fury to deliver the scepter to Stark. Straining to hold both Thor and the rift, Maximoff collapses as the rift grows. The Freak overpowers Hulk and charges at Carter while Thor does the same. Stark finishes his machine, forming it into a glove. Carter wears it and fires, releasing a green blast across the castle. The Forerunner is revealed, Steve Rogers himself. He recalls battling a monster from the skies armed with a golden glove, where he accidentally struck the Time Stone, shifting the entire universe into the Elizabethan era and erasing memories. Using Stark's device and the Time Stone, Rogers restores the timeline and saves the universe. Carter reflects that victory always felt like a curse. Then Doctor Strange appears, offering his friendship and a new story. In 1602, Doctor Strange meets Captain Carter as the Watcher narrates her story. Carter asks if Strange can help her return home, and he agrees, but only after she assists him first. At the Sanctum Infinitum, Strange reveals he has been imprisoning dangerous beings from across the multiverse to protect reality. He explains that one prisoner, Kahori, escaped, and asks Carter to capture her. Carter tracks Kahori into another universe and briefly fights her, but the Watcher warns Carter of what's coming. Kahori insists Strange is lying, and before Carter can respond, Strange summons them back. Strange tries to imprison Kahori, who reveals that he has been feeding both heroes and villains into the Forge in order to rebuild his own lost universe. Realizing the truth, Carter turns against him and destroys the orbs holding the prisoners, sparking a massive riot. Freed beings, including Hela, Wanda, Thanos, Killmonger, and Wenwu, battle each other as chaos erupts. Carter and Kahori push toward the Forge but face Killmonger in the Infinity Armor. Kahori defeats him, and Carter claims the Infinity Stones. Together, they fight Strange, and when the prisoners refuse to be destroyed, they arm Carter and Kahori with their strongest weapons for the final battle. The duo fight Strange some more, as Kahori manages to send everyone back to their universes. Carter then is given all of the stones and grasps them in her hands. With the power of all the stones, she punches Strange, causing his demons to expel out of him. As Strange's grief is too strong, he sucks the demons back in and charges at Carter. The two start falling into the Forge, but Carter escapes, just leaving Strange to die by falling into the Forge. Although the demon tries to attack Carter as he falls, Strange partially emerges to restrain his grief and save his old friend's life. Carter wakes up in the observational plane and is told by the Watcher that Kahori is safe in her universe. The Watcher then shows Carter a park where Christine Palmer is sitting. He explains that Strange's death caused a new world to be created, but with him non-existent. He then asks if Carter wants to go home, which she does, but not before seeing the multiverse herself. While jogging in Washington, D.C., Sam Wilson meets Bruce Banner and quickly befriends him, inviting him to his support group. Banner opens up about his loneliness, his fear of hurting others, and the pain of living with the Hulk. Wanting to help, Wilson and his sister take Banner on a boat trip aboard Paul and Darlene. But when a storm hits, Banner transforms, nearly injuring the Wilsons. Shaken, Banner vows to rid himself of the Hulk once and for all, exposing himself to a heavy dose of gamma radiation. The experiment fails, separating Banner from the Hulk and creating Apex, a monstrous mutation that unleashes hordes of gamma beasts. The Avengers respond with Hulkbuster mechs but are wiped out. In their absence, Wilson rallies surviving heroes and leads a desperate counterattack. Against all odds, they succeed, and the beasts vanish, or so they believe. 10 years later, the beasts return. Wilson, Monica Rambeau, and Bucky Barnes regroup with allies like Red Guardian, Melina Vostokov, Nakia, Shang-Chi, and Moon Knight. When Nakia reports Apex's gamma signature in the Arctic, Rambeau suggests seeking Banner. Wilson resists, blaming him for everything, but when they uncover a massive beast army under Apex's command, Rambeau convinces Wilson that Banner may be their only hope. Wilson reluctantly reunites with Banner on the Astra Islands, warning him that Apex has returned and the Avengers need the Hulk to stop him. Banner refuses to fight, but gives Wilson a special plug-in for the Hulkbuster mechs, explaining the Mighty Avenger protocol. He admits he designed it in case he ever needed to be stopped himself. Wilson calls him out for hiding in fear, but tells Banner he never saw him as a monster and hopes he'll prove it if he faces Apex. When the beasts attack New York, S.H.I.E.L.D. evacuates civilians while the Avengers stall for time. Wilson activates the protocol, merging the Hulkbusters into the Mighty Avenger. The towering mech unleashes devastating firepower, cutting through the Beast Army before confronting Apex himself. But Apex shrugs off their assault and releases a gamma wave, disabling the mech. Banner then arrives in a bomber jet, armed with an old atomic bomb. Despite Wilson's pleas, he absorbs its radiation and transforms into Mega Hulk. He battles Apex in a brutal clash while the beasts watch silently. With Wilson's timely assist, Mega Hulk defeats Apex, then turns to the Avengers. Instead of attacking, Wilson speaks to his humanity, reaching Banner within. Mega Hulk withdraws peacefully, leading the beasts back to Astra Islands. Agatha Harkness sought greater power and set her sights on Tiamat the Communicator, still growing beneath Earth's surface. To siphon celestial energy, she needed a ritual too costly to perform alone, so she turned to Hollywood. Partnering with Howard Stark, she starred in Cosmic Queen at Stark Pictures, using the production as cover for her spell work. When the ritual faltered, she convinced Stark to expand the film, to Jarvis's annoyance. Stark and Harkness searched for a co-lead, and she suggested Kingo of Bollywood. Kingo eagerly joined the cast, though he secretly knew Harkness' plan and vowed to stop her. On set, their staged dance number became a real duel. Stark, mistaking their powers for dazzling effects, kept filming in delight while Jarvis panicked. Harkness revealed she had stolen abilities from Kingo's fellow Eternals and quickly overpowered him, but spared his life. After the shoot, she told him his friends were safe and pressed him to help prevent the emergence. Kingo resisted, citing his duty to Arishem the judge, until Harkness appealed to his love of humanity and sweetened the offer with a 3-picture deal. Tempted, Kingo agreed, only for Arishem to manifest, furious at his betrayal. Kingo warned they'd need celestial power to resist him, but Harkness assured him she was ready. After the after-party, Harkness and Kingo tell Stark they are ready to shoot the third act, but Jarvis explains the set was dismantled after constant rewrites. Harkness worries about painting new runes, then realizes the Griffith Observatory would work. Jarvis says filming at night there is impossible, but Stark solves it by buying the entire place. Kingo suggests flying there with the Domo, revealing he is an Eternal. Stark surprises him by saying he already knows both Kingo's secret and that Harkness is a witch. He agrees to help, on the condition that he can film everything and study Kingo later. At the observatory, Stark and Kingo prepare while Jarvis assists Harkness with the runes. Suddenly, they spot Arishem heading to Earth. With no time, Harkness channels Kingo's power to reach Earth's core and siphon Tiamut's energy. She absorbs the Celestial's power, shocking Stark and Jarvis. Arishem confronts her, calling her a heretic, but she tricks him with a rune that drains and destroys him. Harkness then reveals her true goal: world domination. Kingo pleads with her, saying she already has the magic of movies to inspire love, not fear. She hesitates, considering his offer to change the world together. Later, at the Cosmic Queen premiere, Stark announces he's quitting weapons for filmmaking. Harkness and Kingo speak of reshaping the world, hinting at more Celestials to come. The Watcher closes as new Celestials loom. Red Guardian is sent on an undercover Red Room mission in Ohio, but complains to Dreykov that his talents are wasted. He reveals he knows about Rook, a sleeper agent who sent intel on a high-value target. Dreykov denies the claim and instead calls Vasily Karpov, who reactivates the Winter Soldier for the mission. Furious that Dreykov favors Winter Soldier, Red Guardian vows to prove his worth. Winter Soldier attacks Howard and Maria Stark, stealing Super Soldier Serum. Before he can kill them, Red Guardian intervenes. The two clash but retreat when authorities arrive. Winter Soldier later reports back, only for Karpov to coldly say he failed and must now handle his own extraction. Meanwhile, S.H.I.E.L.D. rescues the Starks. Bill Foster takes over the case, dismissing the carjacking theory and warning that traces of the serum could alter history. He orders a full mobilization, declaring the culprits to be dangerous super soldiers. Later, Red Guardian and Winter Soldier meet at a diner. Red Guardian shows stolen intel revealing Rook will be in Las Vegas. They steal a car but run into a S.H.I.E.L.D. lockdown. Foster confronts them, spots Red Guardian's shield, and demands answers. Winter Soldier draws a gun, forcing Red Guardian to speed off as police chase them. Foster and Morales pursue, while Winter Soldier opens fire, leaving Red Guardian desperately swerving to stop him from killing innocents. Winter Soldier and Red Guardian narrowly escape, but Foster dons his Goliath suit and grows giant to chase them. Winter Soldier fires but fails to stop him. Red Guardian grabs his shield and strikes Goliath head-on, knocking him back. Their escape car heads toward a cliff and Winter Soldier rams forward. Later, Foster and Morales find the wrecked car, but both super soldiers are gone. Morales insists she will keep hunting them, while Foster discovers a Thomas guide missing a page, Las Vegas. Hiding in a veterinary hospital, Red Guardian notices Winter Soldier bleeding from hidden bullet wounds and helps him patch up. Red Guardian admits he came from a family of nobodies, so he swore to protect his homeland. Winter Soldier confesses he remembers nothing, not even his name. Red Guardian encourages him to search his memories, and Winter Soldier recalls fragments of Coney Island. They begin to bond. But when Red Guardian leaves to find a ride, Dreykov calls Winter Soldier, ordering him to kill his ally. Arriving in Las Vegas, they follow the file and meet Rook, revealed as Obadiah Stane. Red Guardian is thrilled, until Stane admits he only sold intel so the Red Room would kill the Starks, clearing his path to control Stark Industries. Shattered, Red Guardian realizes he was manipulated into serving an American capitalist. Stane mocks them, saying their masters never cared for loyalty or ideals. Stane admits they are the only ones who know of the failed mission and tries to kill them, but Winter Soldier protects Red Guardian and kills Stane. Shaken, Red Guardian laments the betrayal of those he trusted. Winter Soldier assures him he's still a good man and must let Dreykov go. Suddenly, a Red Room task force storms the hotel. The pair fight back and escape. Foster and Morales later find Stane's body, realizing the story doesn't add up, then spot the fugitives fleeing into the Las Vegas Strip. On the run, Red Guardian is snatched by Goliath until Winter Soldier frees him, and together they bring Goliath down. Surrounded by Red Room, Winter Soldier reveals Dreykov ordered him to kill Red Guardian. He refuses and instead gives him the last Super Soldier Serum, telling him to run. Red Guardian destroys the vial, unwilling to abandon him. Karpov arrives, attempting to reprogram Winter Soldier with the Hydra code. This time, he resists. With Goliath, Morales, and S.H.I.E.L.D. moving in, Winter Soldier and Red Guardian fight alongside them, breaking the Red Room assault. Winter Soldier is later captured and taken to Siberia, his memories purged again. Red Guardian hides in America, teaching at a gym, until Foster returns his shield and offers him a chance with S.H.I.E.L.D., setting him on the path to the Avengers. After Thor's Wild Earth party, Darcy Lewis shockingly marries Howard the Duck. Soon she lays an egg, and the two nervously wonder what kind of child will hatch. Their new family is suddenly invited by Topaz to join the Grandmaster's grand cruise across the stars. On board the SS Grandmaster, the ruler instantly takes interest in the egg, urging the couple to leave it in his care while they relax. Reluctantly, Howard agrees. But during brunch, the ducks discover to their horror that the egg is meant to be the main course. Before Grandmaster can reveal it, Yondu swoops in, steals the egg, and escapes with the Ravagers. Desperate, Howard and Darcy chase them in the Commodore but lose them through a jump point. Distraught, Darcy calls S.H.I.E.L.D., where Nick Fury explains the egg is tied to the Convergence, marking the birth of great power. Howard overhears Phil Coulson reveal that the Ravagers are heading for the Collector. Yondu reaches nowhere, offering the egg to Caecilius, who seizes it for Dormammu's ritual. Yondu is killed, and the Zealots prepare the sacrifice. Arriving through Nowhere's sewers, Howard and Darcy infiltrate the cult and discover the terrible truth. Dormammu plans to be reborn inside their child. Caecilius begins the ritual, but S.H.I.E.L.D. storms in, with Fury and Coulson seizing the egg and declaring it too dangerous to remain with Howard and Darcy. Before they can argue, Caecilius traps everyone in the mirror dimension, sparking chaos as S.H.I.E.L.D. and Zealots clash. Amid the fight, Howard and Darcy reclaim their egg and escape aboard the Commodore. Furious, S.H.I.E.L.D. issues an intergalactic Ivory alert to hunt them down. Hoping to hide, the Ducks fly to Jotunheim, where Loki offers shelter. But Laufey seizes the egg, intent on restoring his kingdom. Loki argues with his father, only for Zeus to descend, claiming the egg for Olympus. Soon, Frost Giants, Olympians, Malekith, Zealots, the Black Order, Grandmaster, and even Thanos converge, turning Jotunheim into a battlefield. Grandmaster briefly secures the egg, but Zeus brings his ship down, scattering it again. Howard dives in, catching the egg just in time and fleeing with Darcy. Loki helps stall Laufey, giving them a chance to escape, but enemies close in. Accepting their fate, the Ducks huddle together and sing a KISS song to their unborn child. The egg suddenly glows, firing bolts of energy before hatching in a massive blast that wipes out the attackers. Their child emerges, a human-duck hybrid named Birdie. Even Fury admits she's safest with her parents. Choosing peace, Howard and Darcy return to Earth to raise their daughter. With Tiamut's emergence reducing Earth to ruins, Quentin Beck seizes the chaos, taking over Stark Industries and commanding the Iron Federation with the Iron Legion and White Vision at his side. Humanity falls under his illusions and machines, and the last sparks of rebellion gather under the banner of the Alliance. On the run from Beck's patrols, Riri Williams secretly meets Sharon Carter to buy a kitty cake cooker for its rare part, only to be betrayed and handed to the Federation. Forced to flee, she narrowly survives thanks to her prototype suit, until Yingnan, Wong, Okoye, and Valkyrie rescue her. They reveal the Alliance knows she's building a weapon to neutralize White Vision, their deadliest enemy. Brought to the Alliance's last base aboard the RMS Titanic, Williams debates joining until an alarm cuts short her doubts. White Vision storms the ship, slaughtering Alliance fighters, including Brock Rumlow, and tearing through Wong's defenses. In the chaos, Williams finishes her device, and in a desperate strike, destroys White Vision, shattering Beck's control. Though they grieve their losses, Williams vows to end Beck's tyranny. She proposes using White Vision's remains to break through the illusion network, despite Wong's warnings. Refusing to falter, she merges the parts into herself, transforming into a synthezoid hybrid ready for war. Williams led the Alliance to Beck's stronghold, her synthezoid upgrades allowing her to see past his illusions. During the assault, her neural network faltered, and Beck's anti-aerial systems shot down their forces. She awoke to Ying Nan, who urged her to finish the mission, but as they advanced, Williams realized everything around her, including Ying Nan, was an illusion. Beck revealed he had injected nanites into his body, controlling the entire battlefield, and tortured Williams while exploiting her synthezoid enhancements. He declared that she had never reached his base and that her allies were long dead. Broken and cornered, Williams surrendered, allowing Beck to absorb her technology and amplify himself. At that moment, the Watcher, witnessing the doomed universe, broke his oath and reached out to Williams. Empowered, she reversed the nanite connection, seizing control of Beck's illusions and rendering him defenseless. With her newfound mastery, she projected a massive Avengers symbol in the sky, inspiring humanity to rise against his tyranny. Beck, unable to sustain his body, died as the people reclaimed hope. The Eminence, the Incarnate, and the Executioner observed the Watcher's interference, marking him as their next target. Humanity, united and inspired, now had a symbol to rally behind. And Williams had proven that even in despair, one could reclaim power, hope, and destiny. Shang-Chi set out to find his missing sister, Xu Xialing, partnering with Kate Bishop, who also sought revenge against Hood. Known as Ten Rings and Hawkeye, the two became legends of the American frontier. When John Walker tried to ambush them, Shang-Chi and Bishop swiftly defeated him, extracting information about Hood's abduction of Chinese railroad workers. Following the trail to Point Pegasus, they found the town destroyed. Bishop, mourning her own family's loss to Hood, vowed vengeance, but Shang-Chi focused on finding his sister first. They tracked down Kwai Jun-fan, the sole survivor of Hood's raid, and he revealed that the workers were taken aboard a ghost train, moving without tracks. Shang-Chi, Bishop, and Jun-fan boarded the train, discovering Hood's abducted workers in a trance, conscripted for a sinister army. They encountered Sonny Birch, who confirmed Hood's plan. Shang-Chi sent Jun-fan to safety and pressed forward to Hood's destination. At the final confrontation, Hood offered Shang-Chi an alliance, but Shang-Chi refused, demanding to know Xialing's whereabouts. As they fought, Birch hypnotized Bishop, revealing himself as her parents' killer. Despite Hood's martial arts and cloaking abilities, Shang-Chi landed a decisive blow, finally glimpsing Hood's true face, ready to confront the mastermind behind the abductions. Shang-Chi is stunned to discover that Xialing was Hood all along, having defeated the original and seized his powers. She explains that she prepared an army to free exploited Asian immigrant workers, but Shang-Chi insists she cannot steal people's free will. Xialing overpowers him, intent on killing him. At that moment, Jun-fan rings the train bell, snapping Bishop out of her trance. She takes down Birch, vowing to make him pay for his crimes. Shang-Chi rises and fights his sister, but ultimately refuses to strike, surrendering to her mercy. Xialing hesitates, but moves in for a fatal blow. Bishop shoots her to save Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi watches heartbroken as Xialing has a final moment of clarity before dying. He reassures Bishop that the Xialing he knew was gone, absolving her of guilt. With the captives freed, Shang-Chi and Bishop praise Jun-fan, believing he could become a hero. Shang-Chi vows to continue fighting for justice in honor of his sister, and Bishop joins him on new adventures. As Watcher observes, the Eminence, Incarnate, and Executioner confront him on the observational plane, declaring that his repeated interference can no longer go unpunished, and they attack. A cosmic squid monster attacks Xandar, with Nova Prime Nebula coordinating the Nova Corps to defend the planet. Nebula orders Groot and Korg to evacuate civilians, but Korg warns that the monster originated from the Universal Neural Teleportation Network, blocking all exits. Suddenly, a time sphere appears, carrying Captain Carter, who has been tracking the Hydra champion. Nebula is wary at first, but the rest of the Guardians of the Multiverse arrive: Kahori, Birdie the Duck, and Storm. Working together, they defeat the monster, earning Nebula's gratitude. Suddenly, shards from the observational plane rain down, signaling danger to Watcher. The Eminence, Incarnate, and Executioner confront Watcher for repeatedly meddling with the multiverse, citing his closeness to Carter. They warn that if Carter and the Guardians search for him, they will intervene, and Watcher would be held accountable. On their ship, Carter studies the shards, identifying them as pieces of the fifth dimension, recalling Infinity Ultron's past attack. She concludes that if Watcher hasn't contacted them, something must have happened. Storm cautions that accessing the fifth dimension is perilous, but Birdie upgrades the time sphere. Using a shard to power a test run, the Guardians attempt entry, but it fails, and one of the three shards is lost. Using the second shard and her Mjolnir, Storm tries to call on the Asgardian gods to open the gates to the fifth dimension, but the spell fails, and the Guardians lose that shard as well. With only one shard left, they face the terrifying possibility of losing Watcher forever. Kahori proposes seeking help from Infinity Ultron, the only being to ever reach the observational plane. Carter hesitates, recalling Ultron's past, but Storm notes that countless Ultron variants exist across the multiverse, and Birdie could reprogram one. Though wary, Carter accepts the risky plan. Before the mission, Carter confides in Storm about her fear of losing the Guardians, recounting her past losses. Determined to act, she ventures alone into Ultron's universe, where he destroyed all life, confronting him eons after his mission ended. Meanwhile, Birdie discovers the last shard is gone and alerts Kahori and Storm. Following her, they find her destroyed shield and fear the worst. Ultron appears, stopping the Guardians without harm, explaining that Carter was captured by the Order of the Watchers. Remorseful, he offers to help, using Carter's shard to access the fifth dimension and power their ship. Despite the unknown path ahead, Storm leads the Guardians onward to save Carter and Watcher. In a flashback, Uatu, a disciple of the Watchers, is recruited by the Eminence to become a full Watcher. In the present, the Watcher faces trial for repeatedly interfering in the multiverse, helping Doctor Strange Supreme restore his destroyed universe, saving Riri Williams and Kwai Jun Fan, and involving Captain Carter in his affairs. As the Watchers move to punish him, Ultron intervenes, sacrificing himself to buy the pair time to escape. The Watchers pursue them relentlessly, attempting to erase them from existence. To protect his allies, the Watcher grants Carter's team the powers of a Watcher. In a final act of bravery, Carter sacrifices herself, transporting everyone to Strange Supreme's universe. There, Strange, now a sentient consciousness of the universe, removes the powers of the Eminence, Incarnate, and Executioner. Humbled, the trio learns to watch over life instead of controlling it, as the Watcher persuades them to reflect on their actions. Mourning Carter's death, the Watcher invites Kahori, Birdie, and Storm to join him, expanding his mission to observe and protect the multiverse. Together, they continue their vigilance, honoring Carter's sacrifice while ensuring that life and balance persist across infinite worlds. So that will be it from us. If you enjoyed the video, let us know which character was your favorite. Also, do not forget to leave us a like and subscribe to our channel for similar content. Thanks for watching. We'll see you at the next one.